Two legendary names in the motorsports world. Both have evolved over the years, but both have retained a feel for their heritage along with an eye for what makes motorsports great. One is perhaps Germany's most famous automaker and easily the most dominant. The other is a track whose beauty and challenge entices drivers the world over to come and give it their all. Today, we put them together in a beautiful marriage that we expect will produce a fantastic show. Our lucky viewers get to sit back and enjoy it all as we get ready to watch the Inspectaride Porsche Torch, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Doug Beard. Sean, Phillip Island is definitely among the most picturesque of the world's racetracks. Tell us a little bit info about this place.
Joe, Phillip Island, this Grand Prix circuit sits, it doesn't sit, it floats just off the coast of southeastern Australia because it is an island. And they opened it in 1956. Great history here at this track, MotoGP especially. But after falling into disrepair a couple times in 1988, a major refurbishment created the modern layout that we're racing on right now. It's a 2.7-mile circuit, 12-turn course that will really separate the good drivers from the great drivers today. It has decreasing radius corners all over the place, some off-camber bends, and a few really gutsy sweepers that'll put all these drivers' nerve to the test today. Now watch for drivers to get caught off guard in the corners like the Southern Loop and in the Lukey Heights. But to really give you a feel for what they're going to be experiencing out here today, let's head to the GSRC lap guide.
All right, we're in the GSRC Porsche, so let's do a lap around Phillip Island. Down the front stretch, as long as this straight is and as fast as you'll get going, you still don't break a whole lot on your way into Doohan. Still, expect passing opportunities to open up here, but it's probably going to be mostly single file into this quick sweeper. Immediately, you've got to get the car set up for the Southern Loop. An understeering car with a decreasing radius corner that has a big rise in the middle, this turn is about as fun as a toothache. But it can mean lots of time made up if you hit it right. It's important to get the run out of here too, because you shouldn't be lifting through Stoner. And right after that is the most popular spot for overtakes, Honda. Just be careful because it's easy to get greedy with the Porsche and come in too hot. Plus, the immense power and the rear engine format really brings out the pendulum effect on the exit if you find the power too soon. From there, you'll switch sides and line up for Siberia. This is another one that tightens as it goes, yet needs you to be on the power early because of the long run afterwards. But any cars that try to race side by side up to the top of the hill might be in for a surprise because it's pretty marginal through the right-hander of 8. Now, Lukey Heights has always been one of the tougher corners in racing in my mind. It's a fast entry that slows as it goes, always climbing uphill. You find yourself able to put the power back down for a split second before you're braking yet again for MG. With how steep this downhill is, drivers often slither off into the grass when they brake too late. We'll balance the car on the throttle around the penultimate corner, and then we hit Swan. If you lift some on entry, from there it's a matter of gutting it out and keeping your foot in it around the rest. That's assuming your tires have enough grip left. You certainly don't want to slow yourself down by bounding over the dirt on the outside. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Phillip Island. Thankfully, that firm ground not floating away on the ocean there just off of the coast of Australia. So as we mentioned, this is the Inspectaride Porsche Torch. And well, Inspectaride, very kind folks over there, have sponsored this event. And Inspectaride is an app that you can use on phones and tablets that make vehicle inspections painless. It's being used by businesses that do transport, pre-purchase, repo, service, and many other types of vehicle inspections. With Inspectaride, you can eliminate paper, create better records, and save time. It can help you too. Learn more about Inspectaride by clicking on the link in the video description or by visiting inspectaride.com/iRacing, and you can get a free trial. Definitely check that out. Free, no strings attached on that. So please, if you can, give that a look down in the description. We'll, of course, be talking a little bit more about those fine folks over there throughout the race. But let's talk about the race for a little bit and take a look at the race details, Sean. With this being a special event, we should familiarize our viewers. What are we up against here?
Well, Joe, first of all, the drivers are out there in an open qualifying session right now. But the Porsche Torch today is, of course, the 911. This is the GT3 Cup car, not the new RSR But the GT3 Cup car here today, maybe a bit of a send-off for it. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully that community stays alive and well. The setups are open, and the fuel, we're running about 57% fuel in the tanks today, which means they're going to have to stop at least once. Now, there isn't an incident cap at 20. I think we'll be okay here at Phillip Island, and there's no fast repairs, so you do have to take care of the car here today. And the big news is it's already, just like you mentioned, Joe, we're going to give $20 away to somebody. Somebody in this race is going to win that $20.
And it isn't necessarily to the winner. Now, you can increase your chances by finishing on the podium. They get a few more opportunities that they will get to win according to the system that's been set up. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of it, but just know that finish within the top 3, the higher up of those 3 gets more tickets basically to be a winner. So as we watch the cars work their way around the track, looking at Gary Croft currently sitting in 4th. We do have some pretty fast names here today, Sean. The most notable of which, I suppose, familiar to our fans who watched earlier today for the MX5 World Tour.
Yeah, Eero Nome. And like he doesn't have enough to do already, he decided to come and race with us. So great to have him in the field, though. And he just went to the pole. I was beginning to wonder what's going on with Eero out there and why is he not as fast as he should be. But lap 6, he worked it out. He puts himself on the pole with a 131 flat. Dwayne Burns from Australia. Dwayne's no slouch. He's putting the pressure on him right now with a 130.1. So I don't know that he's done. I expect maybe Dwayne to maybe come back out, maybe take another crack at it. I mean, we still have just under 9 minutes to go here in this open qualifying session. Watching Daniel Rooney on screen now. Rooney right now 3rd and looking for a little bit more. He's also one of those guys that's in the 131s, a 131.3. As
we ride on board with Rooney, just looking over the dash. Now, the drivers have had plenty of time to practice over the course of the week, but that's been in slightly different weather. We've been out here for about an hour now, practicing in this weather here today that we've got. But as we pull that up on screen, just to give you an idea of what they're dealing with, 91 degrees track temperature, not scorching hot, but still a little bit up there. And with a car that tends to understeer, Sean, do you think they'll have to worry about those front tires at all? Do you think maybe they could scrub those off if they abuse them too much with the way the weight is on the back of this thing?
Yeah, they could, Joe. I will admit the last session, practice session we had up, was about 20 degrees cooler. So that is a bit of a difference. Now, the times are a little bit different. I know Eero was running somewhere around 129 in the little bit cooler weather. So when you talk about those tires, it's going to be you're going to have to be very careful going into corners like MG when you're heading downhill and you're getting in a brake and trying to get that car to turn. You could really, really beat those tires up down there if you're not careful. But I don't expect to see any tire changes today unless you get yourself in trouble.
Well, especially because there's not many fancy gadgets on this car. It's very, very low tech compared to other modern race cars. So no anti-lock brakes. You will see some locked up tires today. I did also see 23 miles an hour for the wind. Was that correct on there? That is
it's gusting. Yes, it is. Yeah, and we should let certainly the fans that are watching that are iRacing members. We're using the dynamic weather setting in this session today, and well, that's what they served up to us. So it definitely a little bit different than what we were practicing under. But when you're using a dynamic setting, it changes from session to session to session.
I also love that we're seeing some names that might not necessarily you typically see in a car like this. The number 15 driver sitting in 8th, doing pretty good, jumping over from ovals here to the road courses. Trey Galgun joining us from the Ad Pro Cup and putting a beautiful Patron livery. That's very appropriate for this Porsche out there today. So glad to see him getting not just turn left, but also right.
Well, you know, a lot of drivers invited to this event. Joe, we invited the entire Barrichello family. None of them made it, unfortunately, but I hope they're watching. We invited some of the guys from the official Porsche team, and, well, none of them made it, but we hope they're watching, and we wish you guys well. But everybody who did make it is in for a really fun race here with just under 6 minutes to go. There's a familiar name on screen. That's Mr. Donald Peak. the Don, as we like to call him.
Yeah, and he's doing pretty well out there right now. A 35 flat for his qualifying time is not easy. That one's certainly not going to count. He's still got more time for other laps as he demonstrates.
He'll love us for that.
Yeah, but he's demonstrating the new tire tracks that they introduced in iRacing's latest build that just add to the realism out here. Sean, this track, we've seen multiple different cars race here. I think this is the first time we broadcast a race with this combination of car and track, though. So what are some of the places that these cars are able to pass out there? Because I think there's a few that should be at least opportune.
I do too. And I think what you're going to see is, provided you can get a great run out of Swan all the way up the front stretch down into Duhan, they're going to be fighting like crazy. Then once you get through Duhan, it really is all about getting the right line through the southern loop and not getting in too hot where we run off the track. Honda will be another good opportunity. But really, MG, a lot of time could be made up down in MG. A lot of time could be lost down there. If you could figure MG out, that is a thing of beauty down there, Joe. So, yeah, that's turn 10 officially on your track guide. But that's where I really look for the speed today in the passing.
Ronam improves his best time by a couple more tenths down to 30.7, which puts him about 4 tenths faster than Dwayne Burns. There you see the Australian on screen. Australia representing well with this time zone. Not quite so friendly for our European crowd. We do have Eero here, as he is obviously not afraid of running late into the night, but mostly a North American crowd and an Australian crowd, it seems, out here to join us. So, hey, welcome to all of our fans from around the world.
And we got one Brazilian, Rafael Sabara is here, and glad to have him. Wish more of the guys from iRacing Brazil had a chance to make it, but they're dealing with getting late into the evening there as well, Joe.
Not going to be showing off any of your Portuguese this broadcast, are you?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Just about 3.5 minutes left. Not sure that we'll see Dwayne have anything for our pole sitter so far, judging by what we saw in the practice. Here's Mitchell Dunn with one of my favorite paint schemes so far in this race, rocking the Lightning McQueen there on a Porsche of all things.
Just love it, man. I just love it. We talked about it in the pre-race. I told him when he saw him in practice, I says, listen, got to get Lightning McQueen in the race. Please, please, please sign up.
Shouldn't he have, what was the love interest? I can't remember the character's name in the original movie. The blue car.
You can't ask.
Okay, he should have painted it like her. That would be more appropriate because she was a Porsche. So, like I said, the time's running out for anybody to try and catch Eero. Taking a glance to see who all is out there close to finishing a lap. And actually, right now, Daniel Rooney, sitting third on the track, is on what looks like a decent lap. Comes around that penultimate corner up to Swan. I don't know about you, Sean. I found I had to have a big lift coming into here, and then I could just really put it down in this corner.
Yeah, then you can squeeze it. Yeah, you're right. We'll see what kind of time Daniel Rooney gets, because Dwayne Burns is right behind him, coming out of Swan now.
Rooney does not improve that time by. Let's see if Dwayne has anything, sitting on that 31.15. It's almost going to be critical for them to try and get ahead of Eero, because once he runs off, it is hard to catch the Roland Estonian.
Ooh, it was his fastest, but it wasn't enough. A 130.9. Wow. Great lap by Dwayne.
Nicely done. Dwayne, of course, coming over from the Absolute Beginners League that we've covered. Or actually, is that a different Burns that I'm thinking of?
I think it is, Joe. Yeah,
excuse me. I'm sorry, that's different Burns. Yeah, David Burns. So that's not third degree Burns I was thinking of. My apologies. Regardless, just as fast as David Burns, as he's known as a hot shoe over there. So maybe those two will have to get together sometime on track.
Looks like Dwayne's going to go ahead and park it. Actually, Aeronam still out on track, though. Still trying to find more speed.
Oh, hey, Lyndon Swaby gets on to row 2.
Oh, the Canadian. All right.
Well, then. as the Michelin Man seems to be not drinking responsibly there on the side of the car. And Gnome sets another fastest lap, less than a tenth better. Oh, actually, no. Now my time updated. 0.3 faster. Oh, my goodness. And with 28 seconds left and not many cars left on the track, that is the nail in the coffin, at least for the pole, I'm pretty sure. This is Scott McClendon, and he's not going to get a timed lap in. I believe Mitchell Dunn, the next one that we're going to see come around to try and improve, sitting ninth on the grid, Sean.
Yeah, and not bad. And boy, I remember what you said about Trey Galgan coming over here from the Ad Pro series, and boy, just so impressed with the lap that he laid down to get himself in the top 10. A really, really solid job.
He's got one more chance here. Looking at his time on the board right now, this could be a competitive lap. Well, no, it's not, as he pulls into the pits. The lone Brazilian comes out of MG. That's Daniel Rooney that we're looking at there, or were for a moment. Now into Swan for that easy to spot car. Beautiful colors. Beautiful because those are the colors I run. Orange, yellow, and black. Let's see. Currently second to last on the grid on 41.2. And he improves 0.2, but does not improve position. Rooney, the last one to cross the line, sits in fourth. Can he take that third place back? Across the line for the number 19. And no, he does not. He sits in fourth. That's going to settle it for qualifying. Let's go through our grid. We got enough time. Let's do it Bill's on style and do it 2 by 2. On the pole, Iro Nam here in the Inspectaride Porsche Torch. And next to him is going to be Dwayne Burns.
All right, row 2, going to be Lyndon Swaby, the Canadian, with a really good qualifying run there at the end. Daniel Rooney will start fourth.
Gary Croft with a good time to get himself onto row 3 in fifth. Scott McClendon will start in P6 today.
All right, and then we go down to row 4. It's going to be Kevin Hill, and Trey Galgan will start 8th.
Mitchell Dunn will begin the race in 9th. Rounding out our top 10 is going to be Louis Zambelli.
Okay, row 6, Edgar Sanchinelli from the Great Northwest. Ron Hacker, the Illinois driver, will start 12th.
Driver we've seen in the ABL series, I'm sure. Ernie Ludwig out there sitting in 13th with Don Peak starting 14th.
All right, in the last and final row, row 8, Rafael Sabata from Brazil and George Anzaldo from the Lionheart IndyCar Series, starting 16th here today.
Glad to see him represented for them. There we see they are starting to grid now. They've got to make sure they got the right setup in the car. Don't want to pull the rookie mistake of putting qualifying fuel in. It's going to be a rolling start out here today behind the roof pace car, I guess you could say imitation Porsche.
Oh, easy. Easy.
Hey, I have a lot of love for Roof. I was reading an article about them in Road and Track this week, so don't worry. But as we were saying before, this race, again, brought to you by the wonderful folks at Inspectaride. And these drivers are competing for a cash prize, a giveaway of $20. You don't have to win the race to win that cash prize, but it increases your chances. So they still have something to fight for other than just pride. As we glance at all the cars getting gridded up out there. Sean, I'm going to ask 2 questions, 2 predictions from you. Who do you think is going to win the race, and who do you think is going to win the money?
Okay, first, I want to challenge everybody watching right now to go here in the description, the YouTube description, click on that link, take a free 7-day test drive with Inspectaride. All right, that's on me. You get a free 7-day test drive. Now, who do I think is going to win today? You know, this is, as much as I love Aeronam, I've got to favor the Australians here. They put a lot of time in on this track over the past several days. I got to be honest, I like Dwayne Burns just a bit. Now, who's going to win the money? Who is going to win the money today? I've got a random thought coming in my head. Let's give it to Luis Zambelli. There we go.
All right. And for what it's worth, we do have a spinner for that. So it is random. That's his his pick is not affecting that $20 giveaway later on, in case anybody is worried. As the Mustang pace car out there, we've got. Excuse me, it's not the roof that is leading them.
Oh,
it
is
today.
The Mustang, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, we debated that. Okay, I wanted to use the truck, and then we found out.
Can we do that on road course?
No, we can't. That's what we found out, and I don't know why iRacing is doing that to us. Because why not put the truck out there? But
hashtag give us the truck, iRacing.
Hashtag give us the truck, or hashtag give us a ute for Australian tracks.
Oh, yes, so that would be appropriate. Very appropriate.
Everybody in Australia watching this just got up out of their chairs and shouted and cheered. Sean knows what a ute is.
So, like Sean was saying in the description, that free trial for Inspectaride is in there. You said that's on you, Sean? Does that count for me too? Do I get to have one on you?
Yeah, you can have one on me too, and they're just taking it out of my check, so that's okay. But no, really, seriously, click on that link. It's a very, very cool app, and it's free for 7 days. Why not? Give it a shot.
Great software if you work on cars of any type, at any scale. Help you keep track of all of that information. So we highly encourage you, if you love working on cars, and if there's race fans out here, I have to assume that some of you watching love working on cars, definitely go give it a look. And that is available all over the world, that software. So pace car now coming up the hill towards the top, up to what I consider one of the toughest corners in racing, Sean. Lukey Heights, my goodness.
Yeah, boy, it's a bit of a bear, man. It's blind getting over there, and it drops off real quick to the left. Not one of my more fun track sections in all of iRacing, but tell you what, drivers will be rewarded for nailing that.
Certainly will. Speaking of nailing it, got to nail the brakes down here in MG, which Sean mentioned in the pre-race. Expect to see a few drivers miss that corner. All right. Let's see what Ironam does once the Mustang pace car peels off into pit lane. Got to practice that pit entry. We'll talk about that in a little bit. He has control of the field. Dwayne Burns on his inside for this corner, but it's going to be the outside of turn one into Doohan. Waiting for the green to come out. Waiting very patiently is Ironam. Not going. There we go. Now he accelerates away. Oh, we got a big checkup behind them in fourth. Was that Rooney? I think that was Rooney that caught a few drivers out, but thankfully everybody survived it. They plunged down into Doohan. So hard to go side by side through this corner. I think everybody's through clean, though.
Yeah, Kevin Hill getting stuck out there on the outside. Hill driving off the track there. He's okay. Going to get it back clean. Everybody's going to get by him, though. It's going to drop him to the end of the field. Something happened with Rafael Sabari. He's still sitting in the pits.
We'll come back to that replay in a bit, but obviously already putting himself on the back foot. Nothing lost except a bit of pride, unfortunately.
Got a car around. Ernie Ludwig goes around. Edgar Sancinelli and Luis Zambelli both had to get through there. I don't think they picked up any damage.
Gets it going once again. So a few oopses on the first lap, but really no major incidents that we've seen so far. As we watch Daniel Rooney after that bad start at the line, currently running in fifth spot, losing out to Scott McClendon, and now he's got both Croft and Galgon on his tail.
Yeah, Galgon won't be too hard to follow with that paint scheme there, Joe.
Easy to spot for sure as they come around to complete lap one, and we look back up at our leaders. Ironam leading about half a second. We've got that replay spooled up. I think first we're going to look at Hill, from what I understand. Nope, we're going to look at Ludwig's incident. This was their contact here, because I didn't quite catch it.
Well, you know, honestly, I think what happens with Ludwig here is he might have jammed on those brakes like we had talked about. Ill-advised, the car just going to come around real quick. Just slight contact, but no damage suffered there as they did get by. That was Zambelli Ernie Ludwig. We're right on board here with Zambelli. He's going to make just a little bit of contact with him. Like I said, I didn't see any damage on the bumper. Zambelli gets all the way on the binders there. Good job.
Yeah, wrong place at the wrong time for Lewis, but did great to do with it. And Galgon having some issues in the very same corner. And once again, we're finding the brakes on these Porsches not easy in these heavy corners. And at the same time that that happens, Daniel Rooney misses the corner.
Yeah, a little bit of havoc there.
Still, I believe, other than Rooney taking a tow, everybody's still out on track. One did not start. Rafael Sabara does not appear to get out on track. Noam going to lead the way. Now he's labeled as second as we finish up the replays there, but that'll switch back to first. That's our time and scoring, catching up to Rudy, who has entered the pits and is going to siphon down the order.
All right, up front, Burns still giving pretty good chase to Aero here. It's about just over a second.
He set the fastest lap last time by, obviously not letting his lead get to his head and continuing to push to try and extend himself a gap. Now, they could get a bit of an undercut in the pit stops, but we don't expect it to be severe since drivers probably won't be changing tires.
And, you know, sitting there in fourth, another Lionheart IndyCar Series driver, Scott McClendon, already picking up a couple of spots just off the podium right now.
Doing a fine job up there. As you said, starting in sixth and starting to run away from Gary Croft a little bit. Drivers already settling into a rhythm. Most everybody's got a little piece of track out there to themselves. And it's Galgon, ooh, with more issues, and there's another car off that's done. Ooh, this was a hornet's nest coming through the southern loop. Ron Hacker ahead of that. Poor Dunn thought he was clear, and as he went to take the apex, there was Trey.
Yeah, and Dunn just slides up the hill, backs it up against that crossing bridge right there.
A lot of damage on that car. Obviously, they have no spare cars in this one, so you got to take care of your stuff. And we've already seen a couple drivers not doing that. Certainly going to affect their chances to finish very high as the race goes on. As we go to P6.
Yeah, Zambelli, Hill, finding Hill, getting the position from Zambelli. Zambelli took it real quick, and then Hill took it right back.
Zambelli way off the apex, coming through the southern loop, tries to cut it back in. But the front end of that Porsche just does not want to grab, and he loses more time to the number 11.
Boy, it's a shame. It looks like it might have been a connection issue for Sabara after all, Joe.
Shame to see. Nobody wants to have their race finished before it even starts.
Now, here's the good news. You do not have to be present to win today. And so if you started this race, you're in and you're good. So we'll get in touch with you. Don't worry about it. Enjoy the rest of the race.
A bit farther down the field, a battle for 10th. Don Peak currently sitting there, almost a hard charger of the race, as he started in 14th, but driver who's made one more than him, the car behind, looking to make one more, George Anzaldo, from 16th to 11th.
Yeah, and George charging hard right there, breaking deep down into MG.
He's gaining on him. His laps have been looking good. As they come through Swan Corner, out of that final fast sweeper. Let's see if he can get another run on him. Out of here is slightly off the curbs on the inside, and that's certainly not going to help. And I think they're going to be about dead even. What was down to about 0.3 of a second between George and Don has increased back up to a second.
Hey, you know what? Sancinelli starting to catch Hacker here, I think. A little bit better on that last lap. Seems to be gaining still.
They're heading up towards Honda. Hacker bringing it back across the line. One thing that struck me about this car and track combo, Sean, is that there's a number of really marginal corners, Stoner being one of those, where it just, car's kind of on edge.
Yeah, definitely on edge. And another good example of that is in the Southern Loop, honestly. I think holding onto the car there can be really most challenging. Hey, right now, battle for fourth heating up. McClendon is getting a lot of pressure from Gary Croft. Croft come from out of nowhere here so far. He's closed it up.
He overtook Croft earlier, so this is Gary trying to get that spot back as we ride on board with McClendon, looking back at Gary Croft down the fast front stretch. And then the terrifying Doohan. Way off the apex there is Scott McClendon. That's going to allow Gary to get even closer. Takes a little look to the inside, not a real pass attempt, but he goes way wide through the middle of the corner, squares it off, somehow keeps the car together. That must just be Gary's line, but boy, is that a wide line.
Indeed. Clendon's got to be careful here. Gary could try and, stick his nose in where it doesn't belong.
And not just that, we've already seen today to not overreact to the pressure from Gary. Doesn't want to pull a Alexander Rossi here and outbrake himself into a corner and give it away.
Oh.
Too soon?
Not for me.
Up and around Lukey Heights now. McClendon extending the gap slightly over Gary. Recovering, getting his feet under him.
Oh, we've got George Gonzalo and Trey Galgan going at it here. 3-car battle really on track there. Look at this. Galgan getting by all of them.
Galgan on his recovery drive. Sneaks past Don Peak after Siberia. And still Don is holding off George and Zaldo.
Boy, George is emptying the bag right now. He is trying to figure anything out to get past the Don here, and he's not having any of it. Maybe try and make him an offer he can't refuse. I don't know.
Riding right behind him, coming onto the front stretch. This is going to be his best opportunity. Let's see if Anzaldo is able to get a run on him. Ooh, Peak does a good job really carrying the speed, but an even better job for George as he climbs over the rear. Looks to the outside. He's going to have to be brave. Don breaks a little early and lets him through into 11th. Oh, but he overshoots it and hands it right back. Looks like discretion was the better part of valor on that one.
That's all right. George will get it back here. He's going to go chase Ernie for a little bit.
Yep, Ernie snuck by him as well. So 2 spots lost for George and Zaldo. In case anybody is wondering, or worried about any unfair play out there, the staff members and friends and families of staff members of GSRC are not eligible for the prize. The 996 that you see there on Don Peak means that he is not eligible for that prize. The car numbers is the number that we are choosing from when we pick that $20 here at the end of the race of the Inspectaride Porsche Torch here today on the Global SimRacing Channel. And somebody is off. Ron Hacker. What has happened to him? This is up in Lukey Heights.
Ooh, he got in hot, and the rear end kind of spun out him just a little bit. Darn it, he picked up some damage on that in the right front.
And you are going at a rate of knots up there.
See that rear end just kind of stepped out, took him all the way over into the grass. Ouch.
Rear engine cars, Sean. They take a bit of getting used to.
Yeah. And that's boy, he's having trouble just steering that thing right now.
Yeah,
I'm sure that car doesn't want to turn.
He brings it into the pits. And this brings up a good point. They have about enough to make roughly 75% of the race. This might be just barely too early for Ron.
You know what? It might be. And the fact that there's no fast repair, he's probably in for a little bit of damage repair. That right front took a really hard hit as we watch our leader, Aero Nam, who now has that up to about 2.7 seconds on his gap there. Burns still digging here. Someone had it off. We're trying to pick that up. Did you see that, Joe?
Sanchinelli, possibly, I think. figure out. I can't find it. So, and 4th place, still getting very hot here. It's McClendon and Croft. Oh, and Croft's got a fantastic run onto the front stretch. This is the closest we've seen him so far. Defensive move from Scott McClendon. Staying to the inside, try to cover off Doohan. Going to make him work for it. And he's not brave enough to keep it door to door.
You know, while that was going on, I'll tell you what, these boys back here were still fighting. Ernie Ludwig and George Anzala, they managed to get by Don Peak. Mitchell Dunn now closing in on Don.
We see him closing in on the front stretch. Let's see what the Lightning McQueen shod car can do. Oh, we got to go to 4th, actually, because that is coming together. And is that a car off? That's Lyndon Swaby. Lyndon Swaby spins out of 3rd place. This was driver error.
Oh. Yeah, I think he maybe mashed that throttle a little bit too much getting back to it.
I did that so many times.
Yeah.
Trying to do that lap for this, that lap guide for this race, Sean. It looks silly on here, but drivers who get out there and try and push this car will realize that it's so easy to let that rear swing around. So what that does is it promotes Scott McClendon up onto the podium, and now Gary Croft has even more reason, Sean, to want to get up there. It was as soon as he gets into that 3rd place, that's an extra chance for him to win that $20 prize.
Yeah, indeed. I can report that Ron Hacker and Daniel Rooney are back out on track, but this battle between McClendon and Gary Croft rages on. Oh boy, Croft taking a look at him here.
Down into the southern loop, continues to just stick his nose in, showing himself in the mirrors of Scott McClendon. This is where I thought it was going to go off last time with a fantastic run out of the southern loop. Is he going to have a go into Honda? A little bit offline there through Stoner. Defensive move from Scott McClendon, which means he brakes very early. Or is it too late for Gary Croft? Way around the outside, just not enough grip there. Great defense from Scott. I tell you what, Gary is making Scott earn this podium spot.
Indeed, and they still have to pit, so anything can happen here.
Okay, so Sean, then if you're Gary and you think, oh, never mind, my point is moot, because Scott McClendon runs it off the track and just barely manages to bring it back on. And Lukey Heights, that's going to give 3rd to Gary Croft. Well, I was going to ask, if you were Gary, do you pit now to try and undercut him?
Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm Scott McClendon, I think about it.
Yeah, now the roles switch.
He missed now. He's missed the exit. He's gone past the exit now. We haven't even really talked about the entrance to the pits here. It's rather long, Joe, and you can get in trouble coming down that very, very narrow pit access road.
Yeah, I was going to say long, and like a lot of other Australian pit entries here on the service, you can go off track. You continue to watch this battle. Croft, now that he's been freed up, already extending the gap to 0.8 over McClendon. And if you're just joining us, the importance of Croft getting onto the podium isn't just pride. He gets an extra chance to win $20 that we're giving away at the end of this race, thanks to the wonderful folks at Inspectaride. If you can, go take a look in the YouTube description below the video, where you have a link to their product. You can try it free for 7 days, a free trial down there for you.
Also made it even really easy if you're watching the YouTube chat. I just put the link there for you. So click on it. Go take a test drive with Inspectaride. Free.
Our leader is free from any sort of reins of anybody behind him. 3.5 seconds from Dwayne Burns at the moment. But we got to give some credit to Dwayne. He's really the only one that's keeping pace, because Gary Croft is another 11, nearly 12 seconds back there in 3rd. So that number 13 is got a fair bit of pace himself. He just is that few tenths shy of Eero.
And Joe, darn it if George Peak isn't catching Ernie Ludwig. He is trying to get himself into the top 10 here.
Is this a relative of mine I don't know about? George Peak?
Did I say George Peak?
Yes, you did, George Peak.
It hasn't been that long a day. Gee,
yeah, maybe it has. Well, Louis Zambelli had an off, though, and he lost a position. This was not too long ago up into Lukey Heights. Just going to carry a little bit too much speed. The Canadian discovers the understeer of the Porsche and makes a note for next lap to not maybe go so fast into there. That car going by is the ever-rising Trey Galgan. Now, he started this race in 8th position. Trey has now actually gone up a spot. So, other than his incident at the start, he's actually had a positive run.
He really has, and impressed with his chops here on the road course for sure.
So far, only 1 DNF and 1 DNS this race. Otherwise, 14 drivers still out on track. And like Sean said, drivers don't even actually have to show up to win the 20. So they are basically just out here for fun, which I love to see, Sean, that nobody out in the back says, oh, you know, I have no chance. I can still get the 20. I'm just going to quit now. These guys just out there running because they love to race.
Yeah, well, you know, Daniel Rooney, a good example of that. He's fighting. He spent, about 5 minutes in the pits, and he's back out running, having a good time. It's week 13. Let your hair down. Have a good time. Don't worry about the SR or iRating or any of that stuff. Just come out and have fun with your mates, and maybe brag a little bit if you can get to the podium.
Yep. With it being middle of the afternoon over there, Sunday for Australians, I guess Daniel figured I got nothing better to do. Let's just enjoy the good weather here on Phillip Island. So as we watch Don Peak and Mitchell Dunn, and Mitchell's going to sneak by on the exit of MG.
Yeah, and Mitchell's had a little bit of trouble. He's got some damage on the car. He's gotten loose a few times and spun it, but, you know, we're just talking about that fighting spirit. Well, he definitely has it. He's pushing on with Lightning McQueen there.
I'm going to look, actually, to see who our hardest charger is. I think it's still Anzaldo, if I'm seeing correctly. So he started in 16th. He's sitting in 11th, 5 spots gained. I don't see anybody with more than that at the moment. And that beautiful Martini livery, very appropriate on a Porsche. Glad to see at least someone ran that.
Yeah,
very
really.
Sad. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please, you.
I was going to say, very sad that that's leaving F1 after this season. That was just beautiful seeing it on those Williams for all those years.
Yeah, it's funny. We watched George just get through a Honda corner. A lot of sand build up there in Honda. Maybe we'll catch that maybe the next time around.
And this is Lyndon Swaby coming up to Scott McGlennon that I'm looking at right now. And actually, we've got him on screen as well. The 17, seeing what he can do with the number 26. Remember, he had a spin as he comes in very hot down into Honda, but pulls it back together. So Lyndon, a bit out of position.
Yeah, Lyndon looks really good right now. I got to be honest with you. He seems to look like he knows what he's doing behind this.
Mitchell Dunn's had an issue. Sorry to pull us away. He's going to hand that spot right back to Don Peak.
He's got
that little bit of damage on the car. Just once again, that pendulum effect. Drivers finding it very difficult to deal with as the tires start to go off. We're seeing more and more cars swing around and come back to this battle for fourth. And they, I think, are about to get some company. Kevin Hill, you can see flashes of on the screen. He's the black, white, and orange car, gaining on these two. Down the front stretch one more time. All he's thinking right now is, go ahead, guys, duke it out. Just get some side-by-side action.
We ride on board with McClendon here. Certainly being hunted down here by Swaby.
run there by Swaby out of the southern loop. Now we know that McClendon is a hard nut to crack. He's defended well before. He once again takes that defensive line. Getting very close there to Swaby. And Hill, yeah, he takes advantage of those two messing around. And now what was about a second and a half is 3/10.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. The fight is on.
So as they climb their way up towards Lukey Heights, another scene where multiple cars have gone off today. Could somebody else make a mistake in this trio? Maybe give away another position. It's so easy to let the driver behind push you to drive too hard for what your tires can handle. A look to the inside there from Kevin Hill. Not quite close enough. He's given room anyways by Lyndon Swaby, but not given the spot.
Tell you what, Kevin Hill, this Mid-South driver, he's turning the screws on these guys right now.
Mid-South versus Canada is the clubs, as Swaby looked like maybe he had to go on the defense, but a good run out of Swan is going to mean that he doesn't have to worry too much as they hit the fast first corner of Doohan. But he's lost some ground up to Scott McClendon ahead of him. He's got to get back on that wheel. Oh, and we have a scheduled stop. I believe we do. Trey Galgan in the pits here. 36 minutes left on the clock. Interesting that this far in, this is the first we're seeing, Sean.
Yeah. Well, trying to be a trendsetter here. We'll see what he can do. Oh, boy, Scott McClendon makes another crucial mistake there. He's his own worst enemy today. God, he's been just running so well, and he makes that one mistake. There's a replay here. He just runs it out too wide into the grass.
Able to carry on, but as you said, 2 positions down there for poor Scott McClendon. These are difficult cars to drive. I mentioned it earlier, Sean. Very few gadgets that GT3 cars, GTE cars have to help drivers be fast. This is a raw machine.
Hey, it's a racer's car, okay, period. It just really is. The less, the better. Sometimes keeping it simple is the best way to go. But it is a bear of a car to drive. It really, really is. That rear engine, like you talked about earlier, just changes the whole dynamic of everything you think about driving a race car with all that weight back there.
Boy, pit stops are long, as we're discovering. 47 seconds for Trey Galgan. That's without tires, mind you.
Yeah, and then his bogey time there, just over a minute. So, yeah, boy, time definitely lost or gained in the pits today. We'll see. Here is Trey's the only one to have gone in on a scheduled stop, and that window wide open right now, Joe.
Looking for an open window still is Kevin Hill, trying to get into 4th place. Swaby trying to get back into the podium as he gave that away earlier, and the pressure starting to really be applied by Kevin.
You know, every time we mention Lyndon's name, so many things come to mind when we say Swaby. So I almost feel like putting my eye patch on. Samsonite, there you go.
Sorry, I couldn't resist. Another duck in. Boy, Kevin Hill is brave. Just tries to stick his nose in any time he can. Okay, so far hasn't gotten into trouble.
We are missing this battle between Ludwig and Ansaldo. Ansaldo's caught him now, Joe. I think our hard charger's about to get himself another here. Ooh, he's right there on the outside, going to try and find the hard way around.
He's working on it.
Squeeze.
He got the run off the corner. It's going to switch back in his favor, but this is a very banked corner. Can we see him hold the grip? It looks like no. Ernie Ludwig gives it away. Nice pass from George Ansaldo, having to work it through 2 corners.
The Lionheart IndyCar boss, the man, throwing it down the gauntlet. Not thin on talent today. It's just something we were talking about.
and my apologies to Ernie Ludwig if I got the ABL
George,
wrong. And he goes off.
See, he's probably got this on in the background, and there's Zero Nom getting through in the meantime. Nice.
Oh, and when Ludwig is coming in.
Yes, he is.
But I was saying a moment ago, apologies to Ernie if I got that wrong about ABL. I realized that is the majors that we've seen Ernie run in, and I'm not entirely sure if the Absolute Beginners League has been one that Ernie has raced in before. That was Zero Nom going by those two that we were watching, putting a lap on them. Just has not been hassled all race long.
Oh,
Burns
George is off again into Duhan. That's as Dwayne Burns was coming through.
All that good work that George had done.
Well, he's still in ninth, but obviously this is advantage Ludwig, who's sitting in the pits right now getting the service.
Oh, and we need, after this replay, let's go to Lyndon Swaby's pit entry along with Kevin Hill, both of them having all sorts of trouble.
Oh, Hill's got to lock him up right there to avoid hitting Lyndon. Yikes.
Look at this action. We said it was tricky.
Yeah, well, insert Keystone Cop music right there.
Wow, he actually got airborne. We saw on the replay that Swaby, all 4 tires off the ground.
Great. Hey, listen, great job of hanging on to it, guys. Woo.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a long sweeper getting in there, man. And, you know, if your tires are really hot coming in and you get in too hot, guess where you're going? Off the pit access road there.
Well, somebody needs to tell Lyndon that's different classic cars because we don't have any Duke boys around here. So the Canadian brings it back out on track, and he is going to return in 7th. And he is the highest pitter so far I'm seeing.
I wish we could get licensed to some of this, you know, cue the Welling Jennings right now. You know what I mean? Well, this has been fun as we hit the 30 to go here. In 30 minutes, our leaders have managed to complete 19 laps. So it looks like we'll maybe go about 40 here, maybe about 20 laps left. We'll see.
We'll give you a rundown of the order once all drivers have taken their pit stops. Halfway through, though, your top 3, currently Zero Nom, Dwayne Burns, and Gary Croft, all 3 have yet to pit.
You know, and we were talking about just a while ago, Joe, at the halfway point, we still have 14 out on track running. Ron Hacker, unfortunately, decided to put it behind the wall. And, of course, we documented Raphael's problems there in the beginning. A shame he couldn't get it going. It was nice to have Brazil represented in here.
Talked about the importance of the pit stops as well, Sean. Remember, Hill came in right behind Swaby when he had to slow up to try and avoid hitting him. But look at the gap between them now, 1.6 seconds. So Swaby may not have had the best of pit entries, but he had a better pit stop for sure.
He did. He recovered well, and you know what? Hill has got some work to do now to try and make that up. He is going to have to earn that position.
And Zero Nom is putting the screws into the field at this point. He set another fastest lap last time, a 31.1, as he extends the gap. Middle of the night over there in Europe. The Zero Nom has got this track lit up.
Boy, I've been watching Zero Nom now for 5 years on GSRC, it seems like. Going on just about 5 years, actually.
He's been racing for a while on here. I think the first he showed up was about 2 or 3 years ago. But in those 2 or 3 years, yeah.
I thought he was in Conti way back in the day.
I don't believe so. I guess at the very end of it, but that ended about 2 or 3 years ago. So, but regardless, yeah, Zero Nom, ever since he showed up, every single car that we see him get in on a broadcast, if he's not dominating the race, he's at least in contention for the win.
Trouble for Zambelli in 5th. Going in to Duhan, gets it a little bit hot and gets the car slowed down enough so he can get through the southern loop clean.
It's surprisingly easy to just understeer off that corner, at least when I was driving it.
Yeah, that's going to help Edgar Sancinelli, who's trying to track him down.
Now, we've talked about the understeer that this car tends to experience because of that weight at the rear. With this being open setup, Sean, is there anything that they can do to kind of dial that out? Can they kind of try and design some oversteer into the car to help it turn?
You can mess with your steering ratio. To be honest, that's the first adjustment one makes when you're talking about trying to get your wheel itself to turn, but not much else than that, Joe.
Of course, this car not terribly complex as far as what you can tweak on it compared to a lot of other modern race cars. We see Zambelli continue on. Don Peak is coming in for his scheduled stop just past halfway. And Zambelli is as well. There we see the Canadian hit the cones. One thing, thankfully, these cars do have is a pit limiter.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And that's, listen, that's important. That it's like we've said a few times, this pit road challenging enough. Pit limiters certainly help keep you out of trouble.
Oh boy, and the one thing you don't want to do is speed on the way out, because like we saw, the amount of time you lose in these pits, any extra stop is going to hurt. As we switch over to Swaby, currently the driver highest up who has taken his stop.
Troy Galgan trying to get around George Anzala. This is for position, but George has not hit yet. Galgan did right about 7 laps ago, and George is in. Careful here, George. He's smoking about the cones.
He's joined by Scott McClendon, who is a lap up on him. Now, this will be interesting. I believe McClendon was in the battle with Swaby, was he not?
Yes, he was.
All right, so
picked up Swaby here on track.
Yeah, he's coming around out of Honda into Siberia.
He's still got a ways to go here, but we talked about how long this stop is.
Certainly takes a while to get the cars filled up. This is all fuel that is taking so long for these Porsche GT3 Cups to fill up.
You know what they use to fill the Porsche? You know those silly
Dixie
straws
cups?
you got Well, I was thinking more like the silly straws you used to get when you were a kid and you went to the Shoney's or something. They gave you one of those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right, our leader comes in pits as well. Swaby's coming around now. Where's McClendon? Oh, McClendon's out. Whoa, McClendon is out way ahead of him. Oh, did Swaby take tires?
Yeah, Swaby took tires. McClendon does not. A really short stop for McClendon. So McClendon playing the strategy card a little bit here. Going to try and push it to the end.
Oh, so I missed that. I didn't realize drivers actually were electing to take tires. We'll see if that makes a difference, though, towards the end of the race.
Well, right. McClendon's got to make that work, right?
All right. Nome is out, as you can see. And his gap over McClendon, who is the next car behind, I believe about 1:18. Am I seeing that correctly? I think that needs to catch up still. All right, so everything's sorting out. Another car being put a lap down by Iro Nome. That's Zambelli, who he's letting by.
Really trying to watch here and see what Burns is going to do. Is right now he is getting himself onto Swan.
Stays out.
And he does stay out for another lap.
Going to run it long. Kerry Croft still yet to pit. The only other driver that has not taken a stop is Edgar Sancinelli, sitting in 5th at the moment.
Yeah, looking at the times. Oh, and look at that. That was Burns' fastest lap of the race there.
He managed done.
Yeah, nicely done considering Iro Nome went in and is on an out lap right now. That's pretty good stuff. Now, Gnome's pit stop only 12.6 seconds in the box. Wow, that's about 6 seconds difference than McClendon. So obviously, Gnome onto the same strategy as McClendon,
but much faster than McClendon.
Well,
That's
yeah.
I'm going to put my Bills on hat on. Did Gnome take enough fuel? Or is everybody else taking too much?
Well, listen, Aero got some quality practice in today. I'm sure he's prepared. I know McClendon was kind of a late entry. Not sure exactly how much practice he had, but we'll see here. Let's see who can make it. Burns, Croft still out there, first and second.
Speaking of making it, how long is Burns going to go before that car sputters? He does not come in yet again, and we're down to 21 minutes left. Now, we said roughly 75%. Well, they're past 75% now as Edgar Sancinelli decides he's had enough and is going to come in for a scheduled stop.
Yeah, Burns still turning fast laps, man. Pushing his car to the limit on fuel.
Let's see, does Sancinelli take tires? I believe he does because he's in there long. Yep, there you see, taking tires for the Northwest driver as he falls down the order. Drivers siphoning by.
Doesn't the Porsche always look happy, Joe?
It looks very happy. As happy as the old Miata. Especially Mitchell Dunn's Porsche.
Happy with a bit of a squinch nose. Oh boy, watch out, watch out. He's not the only one there.
And a few bugs in his teeth now as that Workiva car slips by. That's Ernie Ludwig, but that's not for position.
Hey, what? Hey, do some name dropping. That's Christian Challoner's team, the Workiva team.
Absolutely. John King is the one that runs the Kinetic Pacific team. The Kinetic, I guess I should just say. Used to calling them in the majors on the Pacific side. All right, Burns finally has had enough. 20 minutes left. That car has got to be just about dry. Love his paint scheme, though.
Well, boy, I'll tell you what, for all his effort, here comes Aero. No, I'm sorry. Aero's, there he is, out of Swan.
Yep. Gary Croft pits, and this is going to give the lead back to the Roland Estonian with 19 minutes left to go.
Yeah,
Burns is out. Sorry there, Sean. What were you going to say?
Burns is out, but he lost it. What looks to be now about 2 seconds more than he was down initially. So for all his effort there, it just wasn't good enough. It's going to be tough to catch Aero here. Just under 20 minutes left to go.
I think
he's been awful good. He really has today.
Absolutely. I was going to say, I think it relies on a mistake from Aero at this point for Dwayne to have a hope, which is not out of the question because that 8-second gap is about how long you lose if you spin. So the game could be on if we get a single error from the Roland Estonian. We'll have to watch and see. Now that everybody has been in and out, and I think things are settled, why don't we work our way through the field here with Inspectaride? Once again, thank you to the folks over at Inspectaride for helping bring this event to life. And if you can, go take a look in the YouTube description where they have a link for a free 7-day trial. Let's head to the leader with Iro Nam. The number 22 has led every lap except for during the pit cycle, has been dominant just like we expect of him in most races he shows up in. Dwayne Burns deserves a lot of credit here today, running incredible pace. Just was unlucky that Iro decided to show up at this event. Gary Croft currently rounding out our podium. The top 3 drivers, remember, are entered into that $20 giveaway with extra chances. So those are our 3 that are looking at a little bit more opportunity to come away with some cash. Scott McClendon Good race from him, sitting in fourth, but not without mistakes. It has cost him a potential chance at that podium. Lyndon Swaby suffering a bit of the same. He spun out of that third spot earlier on. And what do the next 5 in our order look like, Sean?
Well, they look like Kevin Hill. The Mid-South drivers still battling here in the top 5. And then you're going to drop back to 6th, where the Canadian Luis Zambelli, up 3 spots, sits in 7th. Trey Galgan sitting in 8th. He's holding station right now. After some early success, the pit stops have kind of balanced things out for him. It's Edgar Sancinelli just a couple of seconds behind him in 9th, and then 10th is going to be Ernie Ludwig, the Canadian driver, up 3 spots, currently in 10th, trying to hold on to it from George Gonzalo, who sits just outside the top 10. Joe, George just had an off track, and those incidents of off tracks are hurting him the most. Picked up so many positions here today, was about to get one on Ludwig, and like I said, he had an off, and as he was chasing, he gotten it down to like about 1.2 seconds. Oh, and now more trouble for Dunn, as who was that? Rooney was getting by on track. Boy, that was right in front of Rooney.
I think he was just letting him through. Pull off to the side. Yeah. He just outbraked himself. We're going to see the Australian staying off to the left, letting him have the inside after Stoner here. And then simply, I think, is a little too generous as he takes to the escape road.
Yeah. Well, those are fellow countrymen there taking care of each other.
Obviously doesn't want to mess him up, since Mitchell, probably one of the drivers up for our Dory Award today. He's 2 laps down, sitting in 13th. To round out the field, actually behind Onzaldo in 12th, is Don Peak, running a fairly quiet race, but really probably the driver we've seen the fewest mistakes from in the race itself here today, and that's what's net him a couple positions in the process.
Look at that car. She's purty. Looks good. He's kept it clean, man.
Got that Inspectaride blue all over it.
Yes, sir. And that GSRC sticker on the rear bumper. And I want one of those. I want a GSRC sticker.
All right, we'll work on getting you one of those.
I'll
and a lollipop.
I'll put that on my cake. Yes, okay. Yes.
Behind them, we mentioned Mitchell Dunn in 13th, and Daniel Rooney, the last car on track, 3 laps down at the moment, but still going. And we've seen just keep swimming pays off sometimes. He is still eligible to win those $20 after the race is over. Definitely stick around after this race to see the draw for that, and also to listen to some of these drivers' thoughts after this race is done.
And we have a wheel, Joe. We have a wheel, and someone's going to get to spin it, so that's kind of cool.
I believe Amjad is going to spin it as Zambelli here with some action. This is, of course, in 7th position, trying to hold off Trey Galgan. Trey back to 8th now after pit stops are done. He's looking to improve that. This is where he started in qualifying. A little slow there through Stoner. Gives up a lot of time to Zambelli, but does Zambelli outbrake himself into the corner maybe? No, holds it tight. Well, we found maybe a spot where Trey could find a little more speed.
Joe, and for any of the fans who've just shown up, we've been talking about Inspectaride. Listen, there is a link in the YouTube chat. There's one in the description here of this video. Go take a free test drive with them. It's a 7-day free test drive on this great application that, well, if you like to fiddle with cars, you need this.
And as far as that wheel goes, it's Amjad that's spinning it, but I have bad news for you, Sean. We could not get him to put on the Vanna White outfit. Yeah, I tried.
It would have been an interesting sight, though.
Zambelli continuing to hold off Galgan. This looks like it's going to be one of our best fights here at the end. Everybody else very far apart from each other on track. And I think at this point, I know you like to talk about it, Sean. I think Galgan's a driver driving with a chip on his shoulder right now.
Yeah, I do. I'm right there with you. I really do, man. And the only guy from the Air Pro 360 series that made it over here. But I'll tell you what, he's put on quite a show today. And he's got a good shot here to get himself this spot.
Yeah, top 10 is going to be a nice little tip of the hat to him. And I'll have to give credit to him next broadcast we do for Ad Pro for coming out and showing him how it's done here on the roadside. Trey, of course, hailing from the Pennsylvania Club up in the Northeast.
Here he goes. He's right there in the toe.
He has really run that ground back down. Can Zambelli withstand the pressure? That's the question.
Careful, careful, careful.
Keeps it in the middle of the road. He's feeling under threat here, Sean. And Hill is in the pit.
Yeah, he just had a problem on track there. I'm not sure why he towed.
Oh, there we saw Zambelli lose the place there on screen coming out of the penultimate corner. We're going to watch the replay of that, and then a little bit back. Kevin Hills isn't too far ahead of that.
Yeah.
This is Hill, actually, that we're watching first. Yeah, no contact with anything.
No, he decided to just take the toe, and unfortunately, he has parked it. That's a shame. He really was having a pretty good race.
Here we're watching Zambelli.
Yeah, Zambelli.
Canadian coming up through Lukey Heights. You would think this is where the mistake would be. Through this decreasing radius corner with the downhill braking. There was the defensive move, but as we ride on board with Galgon, it was out of here, and it turns back and just could not keep hold of it. Wow, look at the tire tracks coming off the back of that thing. That tells you how much power is under the hood of this car. The boot, I should say.
Yes, the boot. Oh, McLennan spins right there. That was set in front of Don. I think it was in front of Don Peak.
This should be a good onboard from Don. Let's watch the Plains driver. Just on the southern loop.
Scott was just trying to get out of the way there.
Now, here's the interesting thing. Oh, wow, Don did a really good job of avoiding him, actually, because McClendon came right across the track there. McClendon did not take tires. Now, let's see. Did Zambelli take tires? No, he did not. All right, that's two drivers in quick succession, Sean, who didn't take tires.
Yeah.
Who lost it coming out of corners.
There's 10 minutes left, Joe, and we talked about the warm track condition to begin with. It's gone up here live. It looks like McClendon's going to get back by Don Peak. McClendon able to still hang on to his fourth spot, but all these little slides here really cost him. He's now 32 seconds behind Gary Croft, and he is, I think, right now in danger of not getting a podium, but still having a great race for a guy who didn't get much practice and was a late entry. Happy to have him here and running well.
You have to wonder if, and Louis Zambelli is struggling now. I saw him have an off out of Doohan. He just had a spin out of Honda. Didn't lose his spot. He's got 21 seconds ahead of Sancinelli, but here we ride on board with Canadian. Another victim of the pendulum effect of the Porsche. So are any of our leaders going to suffer from that? Because many of them did not take tires. Noam, Burns, Croft. We've already saw McClendon have trouble. Swaby is the first one to take tires.
Well, I'll tell you what, if McClendon has much more trouble, he will cough that up to Swaby.
And I'm sure Swaby would love that, although it'd be just off the podium still. A ways ahead up to Gary Croft. Certainly has been a race, Sean, of who makes the least mistakes. You look at Noam and Burns, just miles ahead of the field. I don't think we've seen offs from either of them this race.
Oh, and you know, Don Peak's another guy. We talked about how he's been pretty flawless. The only thing hurting Peak is his pace, and that's fine. That's not a problem. But he still had a really great race, and boy, he's just floating right there outside the top 10.
Oh,
Croft's in more trouble. Oh, boy.
Oh, no. From third place. I don't think this will lose it for him, but boy, he was way off the track. How in the world? He climbed the banking.
I think you're going to see well, we just saw that. He loses it on top of the curb. Probably a combination of being on top of that rumble strip and getting back to the power there, Joe, sent him all the way over into the ditch. Car suffered for it indeed, but he's still hanging on. McClendon a full, 18 and a half seconds behind him.
And I just want to point out that it was Sean that was commenting on Don's pace, not me. Just saying. Just covering myself.
I think Don would admit that he is really meeting and probably exceeding expectations right now just a bit. So
yeah, 11th
place.
Started in 14th. This is a good run for the Inspectaride car. Representing well for the race sponsor. Getting them a little bit of airtime. So, Gary Croft, the next one that we've seen, have trouble exiting corners. So let's give a rundown of drivers. Croft, McClendon, Zambelli. Did we see Galgon lose it?
Yes.
I mean, man, this has been a real test for these drivers. And these are not, we keep mentioning it, these are not slow drivers. These are not new drivers. This car is a handful, plain and simple.
Yeah, and listen, the majority of these drivers coming from different disciplines. This is a fun race that we put together, and we chose this car. I don't think maybe a couple of the Australians run this car regularly, but outside of that, I mean, you talk about Trey Galgan, he's an oval guy, it's shown well for himself. But really impressed with how well a lot of them have gotten around today with just 5.5 minutes to go. Hard to believe this one's actually almost over.
Absolutely, coming down to the end. And you mentioned the number of Australians that we had in here. It made me think to check real quick and look at our entry list. A presence I did not expect this well, that's I feel deserves some credit. Canada, they've got 3 drivers out here. That is
yeah.
Up north is representing.
Yeah, definitely, indeed. And I think Luis Zambelli, in fact, I think he was one of our first entries when we started this event up. Great showing by the Canadians. Lyndon Swaby hanging on to that 5th spot right now. Got a really, really good chance to finish right where he's at there. And he started 3rd, of course. He's had a little bit of trouble, but it's been all about perseverance for him, and he's done a really, really good job of hanging in this thing.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier keeping track of who our hard chargers were. It's still George Anzaldo, 16th to 10th right now. Now, I doubt he's going to get another one unless someone has issues ahead of him, because he's got 30 seconds up to the Kinetic Rakiva driver of Ernie Ludwig there in 10th.
And listen, George has had his share of off tracks, but he has managed the trouble so well that, the car is actually pretty clean. He's in 10th. He's looking at a top 10 finish here. If he could just keep the car on track for about 3 more laps, he is going to come home with a top 10 finish. He got a little bit of work in last night and not much today, and found a setup he was happy with, and boy, it's paying off for him.
Yeah, we talked about those setups earlier. Drivers able to tweak them to their liking. Going to be important in this car. Relatively arrive and drive, but you want to be as comfortable as possible to get the most out of the speed. Now, looking at the field, the other thing that's impressive, but not too surprising considering our leader, only 5 cars left on the lead lap. Iro Nam is, let's see, actually, how far behind is he from Lyndon Swaby? Oh, he might actually catch him before this is over.
Lyndon's going to try and do his best to avoid that from happening.
It depends on how tired he is. Does he want to end a lap early and get some rest, get some dinner, or Does
I
he,
think it's going to depend on how much of that hard cider he's had actually
no, this
on
is
the
true
side of that
too.
car.
I hope he hasn't had hard cider right before the race. Oh, do we have an incident with Sancinelli? He's talking to someone about something. I'm taking a look real quick. Oh, he had an off. Sancinelli. Though he didn't lose a position, this was in the southern loop. You're going to see here. So many drivers we've watched go off on the exits of corners. This one on the entry. Frito's sport car is going to make it back on track. Just a little bit dirtier than it was before, but in 8th position.
Well, Don Peak gets out of the way for Lyndon Swaby as he continues to try and avoid Aeronom getting around him. 2 minutes to go, Joe.
Yes, looks like I'm going to swing around on the way into Lukey Heights. Now, are they going to get the white flag this time? It's going to be awful close. 131 laps. Going to be awful tight. I think we are going to get the white flag here. There we go. Under 1 lap's time with plenty of gap to the start-finish line. The Roland Estonian, he heard that we were going to have a race here in the Porsche. He said, I'll have a piece of that. And in his usual stoic manner, he just dominates the field, running effectively a victory lap.
He just heard there was a race. He didn't care who was really putting it on. Racers race, man, and they don't care what the car is or where the track is at. They just get in the seat and have a little bit of fun.
Gotta imagine that Hero had some fun today, showing off what he can do. A little bit more powerful car than the MX-5.
Swaby. He's catching Swaby here. Come on, Lyndon. Nail it, baby.
Bushfink driver, another team that really has come to the fore here in iRacing. Nome definitely among the fastest in that group. That little bird is certainly shown itself to be a force.
Yeah, happy to call the guys from Bushfink friends, especially when we're out there for that GSRC Turn 2 motorsports teams and we're out there racing. Always know we've got kind of a friend when we're working around them.
Speaking of the roof earlier, with does that make this the orange bird?
Ooh, that definitely makes this the orange bird. I love that. That's great.
All right, well, coming around Swan Corner, flying across the line, Aeronom is going to take the victory here in the Inspectaride Porsche Torch.
And Lyndon Swaby is going to get to do one more because he kept himself on the lead lap.
Wayne Burns, 2nd place to help his chances of getting those $20. And Gary Croft has a long lap to go, just coming out of Siberia to seal the deal on the podium.
Mitchell Dunn going to come across the start-finish line. That'll be a 12th place for him. He certainly had his share of trouble, but he managed the damage and kept it in there.
So only 5 cars are going to finish on the lead lap. Galgun finishes in 6th just now. Not a bad job. And here's the thing here, Sean. He's got a D-class road license. There's only 3 other cars with a C. There's a couple with a B. Everybody else is A-class. Pretty good there.
He really did, man. I told you, Galgun's really an oval guy. He's a NASCAR oval guy, and shows up here today and shows that he's got a budding road racing career going. I'm really, really happy with the way he showed today.
I'd like to see him in some of the other ones where we saw Croft cross the line for 3rd. There we see Scott McClendon in that blue or purple and black.
Sancinelli waving and flashing the lights at everybody.
And then the last one across the line, Lyndon Swaby. With that, we're going to take a break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel from the Inspectaride Porsche Torch. The race may be over, but the $20 giveaway is coming up, so definitely stick around for that, as well as the driver interviews and the official results. But on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here at GSRC. Welcome back to Phillip Island Circuit down in beautiful Australia. The virtual version here in iRacing. We just watched the Inspectaride Porsche Torch. And up at the top of the finishing order, not a big surprise here, Iro Nam ran away with it. You have to give a lot of credit to Dwayne Burns. Only 11 seconds back. Might sound like a lot, but in a 60-minute race, that meant he kept pretty close pace to Iro. It was just that last little bit that cost him from being able to stay with him. Gary Croft going to round out our podium with Scott McClendon. A bit of a mistake-filled race, but still manages fourth. Lyndon Swaby behind him, rounding out the top five and going to be the last driver to finish on the lead lap. Trey Galgan will get sixth today with Louis Zambelli in seventh. And then Sean Edgar Sanchinelli finishes within the top half in eighth.
Arnie Lugwood going to finish ninth there. A decent day for him. George Anzaldo. Limited sample size in practice, but big race for him. He takes care of the car in the end, and that really was important to his top 10 finish. Congratulations, George. Don Peak with a really solid drive. Great day for the Don. He started back in 14th. He'll pick up 3 spots and finish 11th. Mitchell Dunn, our new friend from Australia, a Lightning McQueen car. Kind of a tough day, but you know what? He had fun. He was just out here to have a good time. He finished 12th. Daniel Rooney, a little disappointment for him, but you know what? I'm still happy to have him here. Awful fast driver. And he'll walk away 13th. 14th goes to Kevin Hill, who ran into a little bit of trouble himself, and he'll finish 14th. 15th, going to go to Ron Hacker. Ron had some trouble early and parked it, unfortunately. And Rafael Sabara, the Brazilian, unfortunately, didn't get it started at the beginning with some connection issues, and he will round out this field in 16th.
And with that, it is time to award $20 to a lucky driver. To help us with that, we have the organizer of this race, Bill Soupzon, has joined us. Bill, welcome into the booth. I understand you have a bit of a neat system developed to help reward drivers who finish well.
Thank you.
So how does this work?
Hey, here's the way. Pretty darn simple. You don't need to win. You don't need to podium. You don't even need to finish. You don't even need to start. Anybody who signed up for this race gets a lottery ticket. You see them in white, spread out between numbers 8 and 26. Then if you win, you get a few extra ones. See those in yellows, 1 to 4. If you finish second, you get a couple more. Spots 5 and 6, and if you finish third, you get 1 extra one. We did have one driver sitting there in the number 24 spot that had to withdraw. I was hoping that maybe if that number came up, that the commentators could win, but Inspectaride said no. If 24 comes up, you spin again. It's got to go to one of the drivers. So with that said, let's bring up the wheel and give it a spin, Vanna. Oh, what a beautiful wheel it is. From 1 to 26, where will it fall? You can hear the clicking going on right now, going around and around. Where she stops, nobody knows. Mama Jean, my 95-year-old mother-in-law, wanted to be part of this if you didn't have to race. And it settles on, where did it settle on? There?
11?
Number 11. If we can bring up the chart again, we can go ahead and say the $20 winner will be the car number 11, Kevin Hill. So congratulations to Kevin.
All right, Kevin's got a cool $20 headed his way. That's what you get for participating and giving us a great show out there. Speaking of giving us a great show, Iro Nam, our winner, has come to talk to us about his race. Iro, it looked like a little bit of a breeze from our perspective, but this car very different from the MX-5. What was it like from in the cockpit?
Yeah, it was just taking easy and seeing how the tires last, because I've never raced this car, and yeah, in the start, just take it easy and see how it goes.
Did you expect to win when you signed up for this race? Did you think that you'd have a pretty easy time, or did you figure that you'd have some challengers maybe?
Maybe Josh Thompson saw in, but not really. Didn't see anyone in the practice, so yeah.
And last question for you before we let you go. What time of night is it over there? Because, boy, you stayed up pretty late.
It's 5:21 a.m.
Oh, geez.
Wow. That is impressive. He's fast even in the middle of the night. Well, Iro, congratulations on the win. Even though you didn't win the $20, you certainly did well out on track.
Yeah, thank you.
That was the Roland Estonian winner here today in the Inspectaride Porsche Torch. I believe, who do we have next, Sean, that you've pulled aside?
Let's talk to Scott McClendon, because Scott had an interesting race. Scott, first of all, Congratulations. Thanks for joining us today. I know you're representing the Lionheart IndyCar Series today, and of all the Lionheart guys that made it, well, you pulled off the best finish just outside the podium. Obviously, a few mistakes were your Achilles heel today. Talk to us about it.
So it was a very fun race, very eventful race, especially the first laps. And thank you for inviting me because it was very enjoyed. But the car under me was not to the best liking of mine. I only had about an hour to really gear it up for this track, and it was not too well in the long run. That's why it started to lock up in the fronts because tire pressures were too much in the front, and it got loose on me toward the late end of that. But it was a very fun race, and glad to get fourth there.
Well, I'll tell you what, you were fun to watch. I got to be honest, it really looked like you had a chance to podium there for a while. You had some really, really good battles going on. But overall, I'd have to say the driving was pretty good, pretty clean out there. What do you think?
Yeah, the driving was pretty good overall. A lot of guys racing with me, very clean, and they waited for my mistakes. And but other than that, it was definitely very clean driving from everyone, even myself. I expected a little better results, but it was definitely a good one at fourth.
Well, Scott, hey, again, thank you for taking that invite and joining us today. Of course, we will see you back over in the Lionheart IndyCar Series soon. And listen, again, great day. Thanks again.
Yep, thank you, Sean, and shout out to Gateway Motorsports Park. That is where I do my karting at. So shout out to them, and shout out to Lionheart. They are a great group of guys, Retro Series and IndyCar Series. So if you want to check that out, definitely give George and Zaldo a heads up.
All right, Scott, and we thank you again, buddy, and we'll see you on a Wednesday night or a Thursday night very, very soon. Joe, you get to talk to Trey Galgan.
I do. And wow, a karting motorsports park. That sounds like a place that could use Inspectaride software. They'll have to check that out. But we've got Trey with us, who we mentioned, mostly an oval guy, but boy, sixth place. I don't think you're just an oval guy. It looks like you know how to turn right.
I don't know. I'm just going to say I got lucky tonight. We had some trouble there in the beginning of the race, but overcome that and was able to finish sixth tonight, which I'll take that, being just an oval guy. This was probably like maybe my third or fourth ever road course race. So, hey, that was pretty good.
If that's your third or fourth ever road course race on iRacing? Ever?
It's around there. Maybe I have a little bit more, maybe like 5 or 6, but I never run road courses. I never. So I just seen this and I thought, hey, why not give it a shot? So yeah, it's very limited experience on these road courses.
Trey, I think it's time that you started running them, because that's pretty darn good for only your third ever. I'm actually a little bit floored at that. But so you came out here. Did you have to buy the track and the car, or did you at least own them first? I mean, how green were you coming in?
Well, I bought the track and the car this week. Yesterday and the day before, I was testing pretty hard just to get experience with the car, so I don't come in here and end up just having a bad night and wrecking, probably some good cars. I didn't want to be that guy, so I really got some focus in the practice a lot this week, and I think that really helped me with this race.
Well, hopefully it'll help you for any of the upcoming road courses in the Ad Pro Cup Series. Do you think this is going to help you look forward to those as those approach later in the season?
I would say definitely. I don't know how this car would compare to like a Cup car or like a Challenger car or Xfinity car or whatever. I don't know how it would compare to that, but any experience that you can get on a road course and get that upper hand from those other drivers, I think is an A-plus move.
Certainly will. I will be looking for you up at the front when we broadcast that one. Again, thanks for talking to us, and great job on a sixth-place finish.
Thank you.
That was Trey Galgan, who clearly is putting to shame guys like Sean and I, because I'm pretty sure he was faster.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
With that, we want to give one last mention again to the Inspectaride folks who made this whole event possible. If you can, please go look in the YouTube description where we've got a link that you can go and get a free 7-day trial for their software. If you love tinkering with cars, if you love working with cars, if your job is working with cars, and especially if you work with a lot of them, you need to check out this software, as it is a huge help, and you can try it for free here, thanks to the folks at Inspectaride. And of course, thank you goes out to Wild Child Designs. They are on Facebook. They helped design our poster for this event that we used in advertising. And a big thank you for Bill Zahn, who is basically the ringleader to bring the event out onto the track. He's run a lot of years with various leagues, and he knows how to work this game. He did a great job getting drivers out there. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go out to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel. We're on Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Now, this is week 13. We mentioned that. This is a lot of fun races, a lot of one-offs tomorrow. That continues here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. The gathering of tweakers. We're going to take rallycross cars onto asphalt. That's going to be a fun one. I really look forward to that. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. You can check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.